Alright, for the rest of this quarter at least, we're going to be working in a program called Excel. So today is our first lesson in Excel. So in office.com, we're going to be looking for the green symbol with the X by it. So this is Excel. We're going to be starting with a new blank workbook. So we're going to click on this button here. Alright, so once this opens up, what we're going to be focusing on first is just how to get around and navigate through the different cells here. So each one of these little boxes is called a cell. And that can store data or a formula, which we're going to talk about both in this lesson. So each cell has a specific name. So this one's called A1. The name corresponds to the column that it's in and the row. So the column has a lettered number. So for instance, D, if I go to cell D10, I go to letter D column, and then in row number 10. So each cell can be identified by a letter and then a number. That is the specific cell address or cell name. Alright, next to the cell name box, you'll see a function button, and then this is the formula bar. It's a very large section here, and this would contain either numbers or letters or a formula. To get around, you can navigate by using several different things. On the right hand side, you have a scroll bar that you can navigate up and down, and then towards the bottom you can see there's another scroll bar where you can scroll left and right. So sometimes when you're entering your data, your table may shift down and you'll be like, oh, where did all that data go? Well, you just shifted somehow down and it's out of view, so you just need to scroll back up. Now this table is infinite. So there's an infinite number of columns and an infinite number of rows. So sometimes you can get really off the page, some weird location. If that happens, an easy way to get back to A1 is by using the home button. So you have to hold down the control key and then press the home button on your keyboard. You'll get back to A1. Alright, so starting in this cell, we're going to start typing our information. So we're going to be doing an imaginary company called Profit Marietta. Let me zoom in so you can see this better. So you're going to be typing in this information. Alright. And then we also have a subtitle, second quarter cardio sales. So the data in this is going to include second quarter cardio sales for this imaginary company, Profit Marietta. So once you're done inputting data, you can press the enter key to accept it, or up in the formula bar to the right of that you have a green check mark or a red X. The red X would delete that the contents of the cell. The check mark will accept those contents. So I'm just going to click the check mark to accept that. Alright, we're going to skip past A3 and go to A4. So I can easily click that, but if I want to navigate using the name box instead, you can click where it says A3 right now, or whatever the current cell number you're on, and type in A4 and then enter, and it will go to A4. Now we're going to type in some various exercise equipment. So starting with A4, we're going to type in exercise bikes. Then press enter, and then type E, and notice it wants to complete the name exercise bikes, which we just typed that. So this is a quick way to, if you're repetitively typing the same thing, you could just press enter to accept that, but we're going to type something different. So I'm going to go back to that and type in elliptical. Machines. Enter. I'm going to finish out the list here. And then the last row on A8 is going to have our total. If you need to pause, you can pause now to complete the list. Alright, now we're going to include a row of labels at the top. So we have a column of labels, now we're going to include a row of labels at the top here. Starting with the month of April. So a quarter in a calendar year is a chunk of 3 months. So January, February, March is the first quarter. The second quarter starts with April, and it's April, May, and June. So I could type in May and June and the next box is over, but I'm going to use the fill handle here to continue a pattern. So I have a pattern of months. First I'm going to click the check mark to accept April as the data for this cell. And then I'm going to scroll in the lower right hand corner. You'll find a little square there. That's called a fill handle. It allows you to fill in data based on a pattern. So I'm going to grab that square, click and hold, drag over through D3, and then release. And Excel is going to automatically continue the pattern of months to fill in the rest of the data there. Alright, now I have a chunk of numbers that I want to place in cells B4 through D7. These are going to be my sales values. So I want to select this as my data range. This allows me to navigate within this using the tab key to type in each of these values. So you'll notice quickly as I fill in the numbers, I'm going to type in random numbers, and for this particular project you can as well, but we're going to follow a certain pattern. So I'm going to just type in 5 random numbers and then a period for the cents and then 75 or whatever you want to do for cents. So it should be in the tens of thousands and then adding a cent value at the end. So 5 digits, a decimal, and then 2 more digits after that. So I'm going to tab over to the next cell and then type in another value. And tab over to the next one. And then tab again, and notice it will start in the next row. So just using that same pattern, just fill in some numbers. Alright, once you have all of the data filled in, you can move off of that. And notice now that I have data in row B, row A is cut off. So exercise bikes, I can't see the rest of that word. So we need to change the width of this column. So column A is too narrow. So at the top where you see the letters, you're going to place your mouse just between the two letters, and then we're going to click and hold and then drag away to the right to increase the width of this column to 120 pixels. Then release your mouse. So now I can see all the words. Alright, I'm going to add one more word in E3. We're going to type in total. And now we're going to focus on some formulas. So what Excel is designed to do is do mathematical equations. It's helping with the math here. So what we want to do is place the total of each column in the total row, which is row 8. So let's start with this first one here. So let's select B8, which is where we want our total to be. And we need to type a specific character that lets Excel know that I want to place a formula in here. That's the equals key. So click on the equals key on your keyboard. Then we want to add, starting with cell B4. So I'm going to type in B4. And notice as soon as I type in that name, that cell is highlighted with a color. And the color corresponds with the text color. Then I want to add in, so I'm going to have to find the plus symbol. And you need to hold the shift key down in order to get a plus symbol. So I'm going to hold the shift key and then press the plus key. And then I need to type in B5. And using that same pattern, I'm going to add B6 and B7 to this formula. Once you have your formula made, you're just going to press enter to accept that. And you should get a total that appears here. So it's B4 plus B5 plus B6 plus B7. And it does the math for you. Alright, we're going to create a different formula in cell C8. So we're going to click the equal symbol on the keyboard, and then we're going to type, instead of typing in the cell value, this time I'm going to use a click method. So I'm going to click the cell C4. Then I'm going to add a plus symbol, and then click C5. Again, plus symbol. I'm just clicking on the boxes now. Instead of typing them in, I'm using the mouse click. Once I get C7 added in, I'm going to press enter. Now for the next column, I'm going to use an even more convenient method. Summing is a very common function to do, adding things. So there's a specific button that's designated for this. It's called AutoSum. So if you, on the Home tab, which you should still be in, go to the editing group and find the AutoSum button. We're just going to simply click on that, and let's see what happens. So it's selecting a range of cells, D4 through D7. And the function is sum. So it's summing D4 through D7, which is exactly what we want to do. So we're going to press enter to accept that formula. That was pretty easy. With that in mind, we're going to do the same thing for the rows. So I'm going to use this newfound method called AutoSum. And make sure that it's adding the correct numbers, B4 through D4. That is exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to press enter to accept that. Now I could go through and do each row, same thing. Wouldn't take very much time, but there's an even quicker way to do that. Basically what I want to do is copy the formula that I just created in E4, copy it into these cells below. So I'm going to use the fill handle, which is that little square in the lower right hand corner. Click and hold and drag down through E8. And notice what happens. So we have a lot of math that happens, and I need to verify and make sure that the right formulas were placed in there. So I have B4 through D4. So it's basically B through D on row 4. So the next one down should be B through D on row 5, which it is, B5 through D5. So I'm just double checking Excel to make sure they copied the right formula. And what they changed is the row number. So it's a very quick way to copy a formula from one cell to the next. Alright, now I have most of my data where I want it to be, but it doesn't look very good. So what I'm going to do next is just use some formatting to make it look better. So starting in cell A1, I'm going to merge all of these cells. So there's 5 cells, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to select multiple cells, you click in the cell, kind of in the center part, anywhere. Just don't click the fill handle. So anywhere inside the cell, we're going to click and hold and then drag to the right. Now I want to merge and center these cells. So that's found here in the alignment group. Your button may look a little bit different. If you have more room on your screen, you may see this larger button here. So we're going to merge and center, and then do the same thing for the second row, so number A2 through E2. Click on merge and center. Now we're going to apply a specific format to this text. So the cell styles is an easy way to apply different styles to different text to make them look different and stand out. So for the title, we're going to use the title style. I'm going to select the subtitle and apply heading 1. Now I'm going to select multiple cells. So to select cells that aren't connecting, you need to use a modifier key, so you have to hold Control down. So for the first row, I'm just going to click and then drag across. So I have April, May, June, and total selected. Now I want to also select exercise bikes through total in this column. So I need to hold the Control key down, click on exercise bikes and hold the click key, and drag down to total. Then I can release the click and the Control key. And I want to apply to these sets of data the style heading 4. Alright, now I want to apply a specific style to my numbers. So these are supposed to be dollars and cents. So you can notice some of these are formatted differently. Some of them have a decimal place, some of them don't. Some of them have 2 decimals, some have 1. So I want to make this all look more uniform. So I'm going to select the top row of numbers and the bottom row, which is my total row. So again, I had to use the Control key to select cells that weren't connected. And I'm going to apply the accounting format. So that's the dollar symbol up here. I'm going to use English United States values. It's going to place a dollar symbol in front of the number and then add the comma where it's supposed to be, and also the decimal point and 2 spots after the decimal for the cents. Now if you see hashtags, don't worry. That just means your column is too narrow. So I need to widen the columns to make the data fit. So in between B and C, I'm going to click and hold and just drag it over to the right a little bit until I can see the data. So I need to do the same thing for C, make that a little bit wider, and D and E. Alright, the rest of the numbers in the middle I want to format, so I'm going to select those and apply the comma style. That's going to add the comma where it should be. And let's see. I want to center these titles up here. So I'm going to select April, May, June in total. And in the alignment group, I'm going to click the center option. And then for the bottom row, for this total row, I'm going to select the number values. I'm going to apply the total style to that to make it stand out some more. And to readjust this column width. So now that should stand out nicely. Alright, we have formatted the data portion of this. Now I want to create or insert a chart to have a visual representation of the data. So a chart is a combination of two sets of values. So we have our months, and then we have our items, and then we have the data included. So I need to select my data set, which is going to be, I'm going to click on A3 and then drag until I have all 3 months and all 4 exercise machines selected. So this is my data set for my chart. Now I'm going to go to Insert, the Insert tab, and I'm going to find the column option, and click on that, and choose the first option, which is a clustered column. It's going to insert the chart into my workbook here. And there's a couple things I want to change on this. First, my chart title is not good. So let's go ahead and, there's a couple ways to change this. There's a special tab for the chart now that I have my chart selected. I'm going to click on that. There is a button specifically for the chart title. So I'm going to click on that and click on Edit Chart Title. And I want this to say second quarter cardio sales. Click OK. So now I need to select my chart tab again. And I want to edit the options for the row and the column. So my row was the months, which are showing up here as the individual columns here. So I'm viewing this data more by each piece of equipment. Now, if I wanted to view this more by each month, I want to swap these two. So that is found in the data group, the option to switch the row and the column. So if you click on that button, now you can view the data based on the month. So based on April, I can see which exercise equipment sold the most items. Now there's another button that's really helpful. That's the format. So if you click on that, you'll get a bunch of options over here. So here's the other way that you could edit the chart title. And then you have all kinds of different options for font, and then the fill color. And we'll go over a lot of this in future projects. But there are different options that you can use to change the look of the chart. So I'm just going to close that. And now that I have my chart formatted the way that I want it, I just need to place it somewhere that makes sense. So I'm going to move this and kind of tuck it in over here somewhere. All right. That is basically it for this project. Oh, we forgot to rename this. All right, so let's do that. We want to change it, whatever book number it is. We're going to call it whatever, you're going to put your name in it first. And then the most important thing is the project number. So this is 1A. And it does have a name. It's called Quarterly Sales. So your name, 1A, and Quarterly Sales. Press Enter to accept that. So it should save automatically. And then to turn it in, you will click on the Share button. And then type in my email address, pvigil@ccsgoshen.org. Then you would click Send to share that with me. And that's it.